Okay, we're in Second Kings. Now Ahaziah is the king in Israel, and Moab rebelled against him after his father died. After Ahab died, Ahaziah fell down through a lattice in the upper chamber and was sick. And he went to send messengers to go inquire of the other gods. But the angel told Elijah to go up to the messengers and tell them, basically, he'll die. So the messengers were turned back and told him, and he told them, "Why'd you turn back?" And they told him that a man of God went to meet us, and they basically said, "You're going to die." And the king's like, "Well, what manner of man came to you to say that to you?" And told him he's a hairy man, girt with a girdle of leather about his loins. And he said, "It is Elijah the Tishbite." So he sent a captain of 50 men with him. And he went up to him, and behold, he sat at the top of the hill. And he spake unto him, "Thou man of God, the king has said, Come down." And Elijah said to the captain of 50, "If I be a man of God, let fire come down from heaven and consume you 50. So fire came down and killed them. And then he sent another band of 50, and it killed them. And fire came down and killed them. So then the third band came, and then the angel of the Lord told him to go down with him and not be afraid. So he rose and went down to him, and he told him, basically, y'all, is there not a God in Israel that you have to inquire of other gods? Now you're going to die for it. So he died according to the words of Elijah, and Jehoram reigned in his stead. So Jehoram is the king of Israel now. So it came to pass that the Lord would take Elijah up by a whirlwind into heaven. Everyone knew it. Elisha knew it. All the prophets knew it. But he wanted to stay with him while he could. Because Elijah went to do certain things, and he kept telling Elisha to just stay back. And he said, "I will not leave you. As my soul liveth, I won't leave you." And everybody told Elisha, "Don't you know the Lord's going to take him away today?" He said, "Just told him to hold. I know, but hold your peace." So he went to the river Jordan, smote the waters, they divided like Moses did, and him and Elisha walked through it. And he told him, Elijah asked Elisha, "What shall I do for you before I be taken away from you?" So Elisha told him he wanted a double portion of his spirit upon him. So Elijah told him, "You've asked a hard thing." He says, "But if you see me taken up, then you'll be so. If you don't see me, then it won't be so." So as they went on and talked, a chariot of fire came and horses of fire, and they parted them both asunder, and Elijah went up by a whirlwind into heaven. Elisha saw it, and he cried for him. And he took hold of his clothes and rent them into two pieces, and he took the mantle of Elijah and fell from him, and he went back and stood at the bank of Jordan, and he took the mantle and smote the waters, and he came back on dry land. And the people saw that the spirit of Elijah was in him, so they bowed to him. And they was his men, they stayed with him. And they was urging to go see if they could find him. He told them, "So you're not going to find him." And they went and tried to find him. They couldn't find him. They went for 3 days looking for him. So then there was a drought in the land. The land was barren, so Elisha did a miracle through God and healed the land. So now Elijah's gone. He went up by a whirlwind. He didn't see death. He's one that didn't see death, and Enoch. In the Old Testament, they're the ones God took up. Now some of the miracles of Elijah, he declared a long drought. He prophesied a drought, and it came true. He multiplies a widow's flour and oil, which they never went hungry. She only had a little bit, and it lasted them for a long time during the famine. He resurrects a widow's son. He calls fire down from heaven. He sends a rainstorm. He outruns a chariot. There's a chariot, and he's running to the city, and he ran faster than the horses. He predicted the king's death. Um, the fire kills the men from heaven, and he parts the river Jordan. So now, Jehoram, the king of Israel, he wrought evil in the sight of the Lord, but not like his mother and his father. He put away the images of Baal, which his father made, but he cleaved to the sins of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, which made Israel to sin. He didn't depart from it. So the king of Moab rebelled against him, and he sent to Jehoshaphat, telling him, the king of Moab rebelled against me, you want to go to battle? He said, we're one people, so we'll go. So they went away through the wilderness of Edom, and Edom was with them. So there's three countries. You had the kingdom of Judah, the kingdom of Israel, and the kingdom of Edom fighting against Moab. So Jehoshaphat asked a very prophet around. So Elisha was there. And he basically told them, they got music and played, and he prophesied and basically said that they're going to deliver Moab into their hands. And then Moab was getting defeated, and the king took his eldest son of Moab, who was going to reign in his stead, and offer him up for a burnt offering upon the wall. And that was great indignation against Israel. And they just got out of there because they was like, good God, what else will these people do? So they just left. So then Elisha aids a widow. She was in debt. Her husband was dead. She didn't have no way to pay the creditor, and he basically helped her out and pulled a miracle so she was out of debt. And then a Shunammite woman came, and she got him to eat bread with her, and made a chamber for him to sleep in and stuff, so he stayed there. And she didn't have a kid, so he told her, you'll have a kid next year. So she had a son, and he grew up, and then he died. So she went after him and told him, my son's dead. So then Elisha heals her son and brings him back to life. So he resurrected his son, someone that died. So then there's a dearth in the land. Couldn't eat, none of the food was good, so he healed the land and, made the water drinkable and the food edible. And then there's a king of Syria named Naaman. He was a leper, and he wanted to be healed, so he inquired of Elijah, and he told him to dip in the river Jordan 7 times, and you'll be healed. So basically, like, what? Just wash yourself and be healed? So he dipped 7 times, and he was healed. It's like us. We're filthy. We're leprous in our own way. And Jesus is the river Jordan. We just got to be washed in him, his blood, to be healed from our leprosy. So he offered him a gift. Elisha refused it, and then Gehazi followed after Naaman, and then asked if it's well, and he said, well, my master sent me, and he basically got some money from him, and then Elisha knew it, and then Gehazi turned leprous. So now he's leprous. He got the leprosy off of Naaman because he went after him and tried to get some money out of him. So then they was out there, and then they was cutting down some timber, and the axe head fell off and went to the stream. And then the man cried, it was borrowed, it's not mine. So then Elisha did a miracle, and the axe head floated back up, and he got it and restored it. And he borrowed it, and he freaked out because it's borrowed. People were respectful. They kept their oaths. They had respect one to another. If you borrowed, you gave it back. Or if you bought, you didn't just use people and do them any kind of way. So now the king of Syria warred against Israel. He took counsel with his servants because Israel always overcoming them. And he's like, how are they knowing what we're going to do? And they told him there's a prophet there, Elisha. So he wanted him. So he sent chariots and horses and great hosts, and they came by night and compassed the city. And when the servant of the man of God rose early, he went and saw the host coming. And he says, alas, my lord, what shall we do? And he said, fear not, for they are more with us than are with them. And Elisha prayed, and the Lord opened the eyes of his servants, and they saw chariots of fire round about the mountain, full of horses. Yes. So the angels are around us. We don't see them. So then they smote them with blindness and led them to a different way. And then they seen again, and they's like, well, should we kill them? And they fed them and sent them their way. So Elisha heard the word of the Lord. Thus saith the Lord, tomorrow this time shall a measure of fine flour be sold for a shekel, and a measure of barley for a shekel in the gate of Samaria, because there's a famine in the land. And so, bad thing about it was the king of Israel was passing upon the wall, and there cried a woman to him, said, help my king. And what happened is the woman and another woman family, they agreed, we'll boil your son one night and eat him, and then the next night we'll boil mine. So they boiled her son, and they ate him. And then the next night, the lady hid her son, and they couldn't find him. So they ate their children. And the king rent his clothes and put sackcloth on him. And then Elisha prophesied, you will be having food. And then after that, what happened was there was 4 leprous men at the entering of the gate, and one told him, another one said, why should we sit here and die? There's a famine. Let's just go to the city and we'll die there. If they stone us, we die. If they don't, we're going to die anyway from being hungry. So it turns up they went up to Syria. There's no man there, for the Lord had made them think there was someone coming, so they fled, and they spoiled the city. And then all the people of the town spoiled the city, all the Israel spoiled the city, and they got food. Then Elisha saw the woman. He told her there's going to be a famine for 7 years, Told her to go where she can go. So she went to the Philistines for 7 years and stayed there, and then she came back, and then the king restored her land back to her when she came back. So now Ben-Hadad, the king of Syria, was sick, and he told him the man of God was coming. And the king said to Hazael, take a present to him. And Hazael went to meet him, and he basically told him, you don't have to tell him he's going to die. You can tell him he's going to recover, but he's going to die. And then Elisha cried. No. Basically, he says, well, why are you crying? And he told him, because I know the evil that you'll do to the children of Israel. Their strongholds you'll set on fire, and their young men you'll slay with a sword, and shall dash their children to rip up their women with child. And Hazael was like, well, am I a dog or something? I wouldn't do that. And he told him, the Lord showed me that you'll be king of Syria. So Elisha departed. And then the king died, and Hazael reigned in his stead. So Hazael was king of Syria. So now, Jehoram is the king of Judah. He walked in the evil ways of the Lord, for he took the daughter of Ahab to be his wife, and did evil in the sight of the Lord. But the Lord wouldn't destroy Judah for David's sake, as he promised to give him always a lot. So Edom revolted from the hand of Judah, so they broke into their independence. And they made a king on them, and then Libnah revolted at the same time. And Joram died, and Ahaziah is the king of Judah. So now Ahaziah is the king of Judah now. He walked in the ways of Ahab and did evil. And he warred against the king of Syria. And he went with Israel and warred against the king of Syria. And Joram was wounded. And Joram was the king of Israel. So then he was wounded, and then ran away, and then Elisha called and told the prophets to go anoint Jehu, and he'll be the king of Israel. So they went and anointed him and ran away. And he went and basically killed Joram, and then they killed the king of Israel also. So Jehu is the king of Israel now. And then his Ahaziah's servants took him there back to Jerusalem. Then they killed Jezebel. They threw her out the window and they didn't bury her. They let the dogs eat her, like it was prophesied. And then Jehu killed every family member of Ahab. They cut off their heads and sent them back to him in baskets. And then he destroyed all the worshippers of Baal. They pretended like it was going to be a festival, and they got them all there, and they killed them all. And basically, he died, and Jehoahaz reigned in his stead. Now, Ahaziah's mother heard he was dead, so she destroyed all the royal seed. But Jehoshiba, the daughter of King Joram, the sister of Ahaziah, and she took the son of Ahaziah and stole him among the king's sons which were slain, and hid him. So then, the 7th year after her mother was reigning, they anointed him king and went and then killed her, killed the queen and all that. And Jehoiada the priest made a covenant. They broke down the altars of Baal. They slew Matan the priest of Baal before all the altars, and they just started kind of getting back to the Lord in a way. So now, Joash is the king of Judah. He did that which was right in the Lord, because Jehoiada the priest was instructing him. He's in a temple, but he didn't take away the high places. Once again, he didn't take away the high places. He took away some stuff, but not everything. They did work on the temple and all that. And then there's more war. He went. The king of Syria went to go towards Jerusalem to set his face toward it, but they paid him off. And his servants conspired against him, killed him, and he died and buried him. And Amaziah, his son, reigned in his stead. So now the son of Jehu, Jehoahaz, is reigning in Israel. He did evil in the sight of the Lord. The Lord was kindled against him, and Hazael, the king of Syria, basically fought him. Fought with Israel, and they overcome them, and they oppressed Israel. And the Lord gave them a savior and delivered them out of the hands of the Syrians. Nevertheless, they didn't depart from their sins. And then Jehoahaz died, and Joash is the king of Israel. He did that which is evil in the sight of the Lord. He slept with his fathers, and Jeroboam sat upon his throne. Elisha was sick, and Jeroboam went and inquired of him or whatever, and he basically told him he'll smite Syria 3 times, and after that, you're gone. So Syria oppressed Israel all the days of Jehoahaz, and the Lord was gracious upon them and stuff, and they defeated them 3 times. And then Amaziah's king of Judah, he did that which was right in the sight of the Lord. He didn't take away the high places. And he killed all the servants that killed his father, except for their children. And then he slew Edom. In the Valley of Salt, they fought against Edom.